Hey, thanks for coming by my channel and checking out my latest build. I'm going to call it an apothecary cabinet, or maybe a jewelry cabinet. Not real sure what to call it, but it was a fun build regardless. I have these 4 different pillars, 2 of them 6 foot, 2 of them 4 foot, and I thought I would approach this like a bandsaw box. I would cut off the back and then cut out the different drawers to make this cabinet. The first challenge was to cut this thing off, and I had 2 things I had to do. First, I didn't have a saw big enough to cut and rip off the back, so I had to go through it a couple different passes, and then I had to come back with this saw here, this saw, and cut down the middle again to, finally get this thing cut in half. And the problem with that is it was such a, butchery. You get in there and you just cut this thing up. But I finally got that back end off. And then after I did that, I had to get it ready for, the epoxy. And I went with some clear epoxy because I wanted to be able to shine some light through it later. And I don't know, I think if I had to do it again, I would go just straight black, but it was a fun experiment, and I think it turned out okay in the end. And I'll try to show you a picture of that. And the other reason I had to cut it is because my bandsaw, it wasn't big enough to cut this thing, so I had to cut it down into manageable chunks. And I don't know if you noticed, but I had to take off the guide rails so I can make these cuts, which was a lot of challenges in itself. But I finally got it cut down to some manageable pieces, and then I cut out the boxes inside the drawers. I cut those up, and then I had to cut the inside of the drawers out to make it a drawer. And again, that was quite a challenge because my bandsaw was barely big enough to do that. But hey, it worked out. It was pretty good. And after I did that, well, first you can see all my butchery here. This first drawer was in bad shape. My bandsaw was tight. I wasn't real sure what I was doing, and it cleaned up. It was okay, but it wasn't the better of the 4 different drawers. So that was that one. And here's a better drawer. And after I cut out the middle, went back in and cleaned up the inside and glued it together, and looked pretty good. After the glue up, I had to do 4 different boxes like this, and after the glue up, I had to let it all dry. And at one point I was running out of clamps. They say you could never have enough clamps. I'm starting to believe them. I'm starting to realize why they would say that. So the next part is I had to glue the main body back together, because I had to cut it in sections so I could work with it, because I didn't have this huge bandsaw. And I was really disappointed in that because I really wanted it to look clean and not a lot of cuts through it. But it is where I'm at in my journey, and it's the only tools I had, so I worked with what I had. So after I glued it all together, I went through and I sanded it down and cleaned that up. And here what I'm doing is I saw this off of Blacktail or somebody. They were saying if you grind out the bottom, it makes it easier to make this thing stand square or stand straight up, because you don't have to try to flatten the whole bottom. So you just cut out, or you grind away a nice chunk and you make it a nice little groove there. grinding out all that. So all you have to do is work with the four corners on the outside, not the whole bottom piece. And it actually turned out real nice. I had to go through a few times and clean it up some, but it turned out pretty good. After that, got into the staining. I was hoping that this dark stain would hide some of those cut lines, and it didn't. It really kind of highlighted them, but again, hey, you work with what you got. And once I got that down, I put on a matte shellac, something. I didn't want it to be super shiny, but I wanted to have a little bit of a gloss, so I did that, and here's the end result. It was a very fun piece, a very challenging piece. I really enjoyed making it, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. And remember, He makes all things new. Talk to you later. Bye.